a little bit lower. Is that better? Okay, better. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Chantal, and today I'm going to share a personal story that is very super close to my heart. It is about how I landed my first job in the fashion industry. I know many of you are either looking to break into the industry or you're just curious about how it all works. And I want to share my personal journey with you and the important lessons I learned along the way. So trust me, this story has its twists and turns, but I'll start with the decision I made that afternoon when I was still in school. Okay, so let's get right into it. So it was after classes and I found myself with some free time to kill. You know that feeling like you've got the whole afternoon ahead of you and you're like, I could just go home and chill. But you're like, no, now is the time to make that move, to figure out what do you want to do like during these free times. So I decided that I was going to find an internship that could expose me to the reality of the fashion industry. I really wanted to see what it really was like behind the scenes. So I figured, why not go straight to the source, right? So I grabbed a stack of my resumes and without overthinking it, I walked straight into the fashion district, downtown Los Angeles at that time. And I remember it was on 9th Street. And I was knocking on doors, talking to anyone within the fashion industry, any fashion person. I would ask if they needed interns. Back then, everything wasn't as digital as it is now. So it wasn't about online applications or an open email source to send your resumes, right? At that time, it was all about showing up in front of the person and going straight to the business and making those real connections, which is honestly was the hardest part. I don't know if you've ever been to Los Angeles. Everyone has their own like personalities and like, let me just say, not everyone is friendly. But I put myself in that uncomfortable situation to be like, I don't care. I'm going to go and just be like upfront. I came with that South African vibe and I was just like, hi guys, what's going on? Like, yes, I'm a student, 1, 2, 3, so that's what I was basically doing. I knew I had to be bold. And that meant walking into retail stores and showrooms on the spot, literally just knock, knock, hi. And then there was this one building on 9th Street that caught my attention. For some reason, it just felt right. Like, trust me. I can't even explain it, but something told me to walk in it. I decided to take the stairs instead of the elevator, for a little bit of a workout. I started knocking on doors and trying my luck. That's when I saw him. He had this incredible energy about him. Like, he had this aura of success. He was walking down the passage and he just had this incredible energy about him. He was actually Michael's operations manager at that time. And I had no idea who he was or what he did, but I just knew he was someone I wanted to know, I needed to know. So I walked up to him and said, "You look successful, can I work for you?" Honestly, I was just being my honest, straightforward Sagittarius moon self. Like, I wasn't afraid to speak my truth at that time. I just came up to him and I was like, "Hi, you look successful. Let's do something about it." To my surprise, he was a bit stunned, but also flattered at the same time. So he said he could interview me, and then he led me to a storage room filled with furniture at that time. It was a bit odd, right? But I thought, hey, let's see where this goes. I wasn't scared. I wasn't worried. I was just like, okay, let's see. While he stepped out to grab a notepad, I noticed something written on the dresser, and it was written Michael Costello, right? Naturally, I Googled it. Mind you, at this time, I didn't know who Michael Costello was. So naturally, I Googled it, and then boom, I see he was on Project Runway last season or the season before. Now, that moment there, I knew I was in the right place. Yeah, intuition, right? So you must really trust your intuition. So he came back and we did the interview. To be honest, he wasn't super impressed by the fact that I was still a student. But he asked me what was I interested in doing. And I straight up told him that I'm here to learn and I'm willing to do so for free. Okay, so while he was looking at my resume, he took note that I was attending a prestigious fashion school at that time, which is the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, aka FIDM, a prestigious fashion school in LA. So it seemed to help my application, or let me say interview. He told me he will speak with the executives and get back to me. But as the day went on, I kept, searching, handing out my resumes to all these different businesses. I was sending resumes to pattern making businesses and theater designers. I was handing out my resumes to businesses that were in fashion, and I was open to learning different sectors, different parts of the fashion industry. Like, I didn't care if it was in PR, I didn't care if it was in manufacturing, I didn't care if it was just in product designing, or I just wanted I just wanted to see how does this industry work in the real world, outside the classroom. So just when I thought maybe I'll have to try again tomorrow or the next day, on my way back home, I got a phone call, and it was Michael's operations manager. He told me on the phone I could come on Monday. I was on cloud 9. I was so excited. I immediately went to my sister and I told her dude, I was officially starting a new journey in the fashion world. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm starting Monday after school. And mind you, I was not getting paid or anything. I was just excited by the opportunity that I will be able to see the behind the scenes. It's one thing to learn in class the theory about this is operations, this is administration, the sampling phase, it's one thing. But to actually see professionals invest their money into things and discuss the next steps, that's exactly what I wanted to expose myself to, the actual business operation of the fashion industry. So Monday rolls around, and then after school, I went straight to the showroom. When I walked in, it was pretty empty. It was just Michael at that time and his operations manager. He introduced me to Michael, and honestly, he seemed a bit in a rush or something. So I didn't take it personally. I remember just being nervous and just soaking in where I was at that time. It just felt like, okay, this is where I'm gonna learn a few things. Okay, so my first task was directed by Michael's then partner. He has no background in the fashion industry, let me just say. The executives were busy with the collection, and also the operational manager was busy with the sewers. So they didn't really have time for me at that time. So then the operational manager handed me over to Michael's then partner, who had no background in fashion, by the way. And he's there telling me, yeah, just wipe the windows. Yeah, sweep that over there. Oh yeah, and just come a little earlier to sweep the sewers areas so that just prepare the sewing room for them. So that's what I was doing in the beginning, right? But you know what, Nam? I wasn't faced by these little tasks, you see. Instead, I saw it as an opportunity to learn and observe everything around me at that time. I would take note of the showroom layout and how it was operated. I saw that, okay, so this is the display room, the showroom display room where the clients or the stylists walk around and sift through the designs. And then there was another room where it's just the pattern makers and the cutters and the packaging area, and then the sewing room, and then the office. So I was like, okay, so you need these kind of rooms to start. You also need 7 people to start manufacturing or sewing. I started counting how many people he had working for him, just learning how to operate a showroom and start off in a way. While sweeping and wiping windows and wiping mirrors, I started connecting with the sewers who worked there. It was inspiring to see so many young creatives working on glamorous outfits that are beaded and with these $1,000 fabrics, right? We would chat about music, parties, and of course fashion. It was just a youthful environment. They were playing music that were youthful. And when they found out that I was from South Africa, they were curious of, oh, okay, so why are you here? And, asking those kind of questions. The sewers honestly made me feel you know what, either way, even though I'm sweeping around, at least I get to meet people, ask about their journey and, why are they here? Those were that was important for me at that time. It was doing research in a way, why people choose certain careers and why do they start this way. And yes, I want my own fashion brand, but this is what pays the bills. Instead of a corporate job, you decided to be a sample maker for a couture brand. So I just wanted to know why they chose this path. I was a very curious person, figuring out why people did what they did. As the days went on, I found myself becoming a fabric runner, right? I'd go down the fashion district almost every day to get fabrics for the orders. Honestly, it wasn't glamorous, but I didn't mind it. I started forming relationships with the suppliers, and they knew me as Michael's fabric runner at that time. So I didn't mind that. Then came the day I was tasked to organize a large storage room. So I cleaned it up, I rearranged it and turned it into a more usable space for the sewers. It was not expected of me at that time, but I looked around and I figured like, look, there's a cutting table, there's sewing machines. This can be another sewing space instead of just another storage room, you know? Basically, it wasn't asked of me, but I can see that it was something that needed to be done. And believe it or not, that's when Michael and his business partner started to notice my work ethic. I remember spending the full day cleaning that storage room and moving things like actual furniture around. I didn't even go. Usually you go and check out and you say, hey, okay, bye guys, I'm going home. But that day I just went home because I was exhausted. The following day after school, I go to the room. They're sitting there in the storage room and they're like talking. It was Michael and his business partner. They were basically impressed of how I rearranged the room and made it like a second sewing room. So then that's when they took note of my work ethics. And so after a week of cleaning and running errands, they then asked me what I wanted to do in their business, right? I told them I wanted to learn and ideally be a designer's assistant. Now, the reason why I said designer's assistant is because I wanted to see what it took to be a designer, what aspects as an entrepreneur and as a designer did he focus on. He asked me if I can sew and I said, yes, I can. And then he handed me a task, which is to sew a sequence dress that was called the Black Widow at that time. I remember it being nerve-wracking. It was 8 p.m. when I finished, and when Michael came back, I handed him the dress. He analyzed it for what I felt like hours, but then he looked at me and said, congratulations, you've been promoted. No, he's like, congratulations, you're now our new sample maker, you know? So I've been promoted. From that moment on, I became a sample maker and seamstress for the team, and I was being mentored by the top sewers at the showroom. They were showing me different techniques and different needles, and it was its own mentorship in a mentorship, if that makes sense. So it was a great experience altogether. So working with Michael was incredible. I got to assist him at photo shoot, travel for fashion shows and charity events around the USA, go to the clubs and the bars with him and his friends. It was actually exactly what I needed at the age of 21. Not only was it all about work, but we partied hard as well. Like what we would do is we would work from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then right after work, we'd go to the club and party. I don't know. And he was like he's mid-30s, early 30s. But now that I'm 30, I get the vibe. Like, it's your business. Everyone is young. It's like, guys, let's go to the club. So after working that long, we then went to the club afterwards. And then we went home. It was fun. It was exactly what I needed at 21 at that time. Now, can you imagine? That was my introduction to the fashion industry. Then you have the nerve to put me in corporate. Then you see in corporate, they're not fun. Everyone is serious. And it's like, guys, was I spoiled for choice? But the real highlight for me was when I got to work backstage in New York Fashion Week. I was the assistant backstage coordinator. It was everything I ever dreamed of. And working backstage in New York Fashion Week was definitely on my vision board that year. Those long nights, the hustle, the excitement, and the chance to be in the fashion industry in full force was an exhilarating experience. Through it all, Michael became more than just a mentor. He became an uncle, right? He taught me invaluable lessons through his words and actions of work ethics, his resilience, and how ambition can open doors for you. One thing I admired about him is his work ethics. He was the type of person who had an idea, said, I'm gonna do it, and it was done in 3 days. Now imagine that is your mentor, and you watch this person come from concept to finished product, and he's standing next to his creation or his project with pride, and there's cameras and everything, and you were there the whole time. That was such an exhilarating experience, and it taught me a lot. He was the type of person who, when he sets out to do something, it's done in 3 days. And that's what I admired the most about him. Watching him fall, get up again and again, and then win was an experience that I was so happy to witness. And till this day, that's something I carry with me every single day on my personal journey. Having him in his early 30s, early to mid 30s, like hustle and, work his ass off. He would work late nights, early mornings. You'd walk in the showroom, it's 3 a.m. and he's there. He looked like he was there all night. He just had the best work ethics. And whenever I go through a challenge and let's say I fail in something, I think of when he would come in the next day, like, okay, we move on. Like, what is the next project? I always think of how he always came back. No matter how many times he fell, he got up, continued. Having that as a mentor, I think, is one of the best things you can experience, especially in your early 20s when you're learning the industry, learning entrepreneurship, just the responsibility of deciding to do your own business, your own job, like your own career. Like he told himself, look, I'm going to be successful. I don't care who says what, just watching this person like grow in 1 year, like literally from coming out of Project Runway to being a celebrity fashion designer and expanding his showroom and opening boutiques. It was such a like, oh my gosh, it's possible kind of thing. It was life-changing. It was a life-changing experience just to see that he's a normal human being with feelings and flaws of his own, but then he still made it, like, because he was consistent, kept himself motivated. He even had the time to mentor me while going through life like that. So, man, that was a beautiful experience, especially at that age that I was in. I needed to see something like that, to see someone like that. I think when you're in that age as well, let's say you're still in school, I think you should expose yourself to individuals like that with work ethics like that, because it will teach you a lot, especially now when I'm 30 and I have gone through some personal experiences in my career where there's a lot of rejections here and there. Just staying consistent and just getting back up and saying, anyway, what was I doing next? Has been a life-changing experience for me. Being able to adjust to certain situations, leaving that job that was toxic to starting your own thing. I'm telling you, like, I had to watch someone else fall, get up, and then kill it. For me to understand what it means to be a professional person in the industry and decide, like, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't care who hates what I do or who hates me. I'm just gonna get it done. Okay, that was me ranting. Hold on. When my time in the US ended, I had to go back to South Africa. It felt like I was entering slow motion after living such an exciting, fast-paced life. I won't lie, I struggled. I felt lost and I even went into depressed mode for 4 months. Like, I realized that my identity was tied to Michael's business, And then something clicked, right? My mom reminded me that my journey wasn't over. It was just the beginning. So I used everything I learned in school and also in my internship and launched my own clothing line at the age of 21. So I started creating my own samples, like literally sewing them and designing my own clothing line and doing my market research. And then I started applying to different retail stores in South Africa. So I got in. And that's when I started supplying retail stores nationwide in South Africa. And that's when I realized that anything is possible when you follow your intuition and put in the work. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from the story, is that there's opportunities out there if you're willing to show up, take risks, and put yourself out there for real. Like to think, from sweeping floors to supplying retail stores nationwide, I learned that designing your life starts with the decisions you make. If you're willing to work hard, learn, and be patient, your dreams can absolutely come true. So, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. I've also included a video of 5 ways to show up at an internship. So if you're out there looking to gain some sort of experience in the fashion industry, it's available in the description box below. Look, we all have our paths, and I'm just here to help you find yours. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.